Welcome to Papa's Workshop. I have a different type of project today. My son dropped off pieces and parts of a chair that was broken and I need to be able to repair it. So today I'm going to show you how to repair this actually very nice chair and get it back to something that's useful. Let's get started. This actually is a very nice chair, and for the most part it was in very good condition. But what happened was that these screws that hold this front part into the place actually broke. And you can see on this side the mahogany board actually split and broke off. And that left some of the screws. That one screw is still in there. This screw is gone. And you can see that screw. Let me back this up where it'll focus. That screw is broken off and still stuck into the wood. If we look on this side, this screw is completely bent and the other screw is gone totally. And you can see where it scraped and actually dug into the wood when it broke out. So these metal brackets right here that go around this chair, that actually holds the seat in place, and those screws are missing totally. So those will have to be replaced. As far as this bracing right here, because it's split, will have to be replaced. And this chair is actually a mahogany chair, and I think I've got some mahogany that I can use to remake this block of wood. Now that we've evaluated the whole chair and see all the different things that need to be done, it's time to go ahead and take these corner braces off and remove the bent and broken screws out of the framework of this chair. Now I do want to save these braces because I'm going to use the braces themselves as a guide for making my new ones. To be able to gain access to the screw, I need to be able to remove the wooden plug that they had in here. Now this was a very soft wood, and I was just able to use the hammer to be able to break it loose and clean it out. Now I did have to use a little hook to be able to actually clear out the material to be able to get down to the head of the screw. But that was a very easy task to be able to do because of how soft this wood was. I don't know if you can see this in the camera or not, but the wood that's down inside of here that actually was supporting the screw is completely gone. This one is just about completely gone. So that means I'm going to have to replace both of these blocks to be able to support this chair. Okay, now we've got everything taken apart. This front member of the chair definitely is good, and I'll be able to reuse that. However, these two pieces for the bracing will have to get replaced. And of course, I have both legs. They're in great shape. So the next thing is go over to my wood bin and see if I have some mahogany that I can duplicate these corner braces. And if you can see down inside of here, the hole that actually was holding the screw, that wood is completely gone. Now they had taken a piece of dowel rod and plugged these holes, so that actually was easy to be able to remove. But what was left was years of wear and tear where that screw was just constantly moving and wearing that wood away to the point where the screws in the chair failed. And that happened really on every single one. This one actually is probably the best side, but even this one has a lot of wear and a lot of damage from where the wood has worn away from that screw, just eating away at the wood. So this was bound to fail over time because of the movement. I found a piece of old mahogany that should work just fine for this, because that will give me the width that I need, and I certainly have plenty of length. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this material, square it up, and then rip it down so that I can get my new blocks. Now the first thing I want to do is just get the rough length of the material that I need, and I can put the rest of the material back into my wood bin. The other thing that I've got to do is then size it on the table saw. And to be able to do that, I've got to be able to square it up. There is nothing square about this wood at all. I need to go ahead and get the thickness of this wood. And if I measure that, that is actually 1 inch. So I'm going to set the table saw up for 1 inch, and then I'm going to run that through. And you can see I've got my shop buddy in the shop with me today, and she is overseeing everything that I'm doing. To cut the mahogany, I actually made several passes. This is the last pass that I'm cutting here, and I find that it's a lot easier to do this with the hardwood. Now this is a brand new blade. I've only used it now a few times in the shop. Now on most chairs, you have to cut these at a 45-degree angle. On this chair, one side of the block is cut at 45-degree angle, and then the other side is actually offset by 5 degrees, or an 85-degree cut. This is another reason that I saved the original blocks, because you have to make both a left and a right piece to be able to make this work. You can't cut both of them identical or it will not fit. So here I'm just cutting a 45-degree angle on the one side and then adjusting it and cutting that 5-degree angle on the other side. And of course the length of this is critical. You have to have exactly the right length or it's just not going to fit. Okay, I have the 2 new blocks cut out now. All I need to be able to do is go ahead and drill the holes into this and prepare this so that I can put it back together. Now the first thing I want to be able to do is be able to get the spacing for these 2 screws. And if I measure this chair was built in millimeters, so this would be 30 millimeters. 30 millimeters to the center of that. And the other important factor is how high off of the table is this, because that's going to be very, very important. So this was 15 millimeters off of the bottom for the first screw, and then it was 30 millimeters up from there. And if you can see, that should line up just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these screw holes. One of the things that I always say is test, measure, and measure, and measure again. So the old rule of measure twice and cut once is very important. This measurement here for the 15 millimeters is exactly right. And if I flip it around, it's also 15 millimeters. What I needed to be able to do, of course, is cut the width of this, and I had forgotten to cut the width. So now I have the width cut, the thickness is cut, and the 45-degree angles are all cut and verified. I've also double-checked these measurements to make sure that they are correct. So now I'm ready to move on and go ahead and drill these holes. Now what's interesting about this, if I measure the diameter of these 2 bolts, they're 5.1 millimeters, or let's just say 5 millimeters, or 5 millimeters. The hole that they had in here was much, much wider. That is 9.3 millimeters. Now I'm not going to go this wide of a diameter, but I am going to go larger than the 5 millimeters. The bit that I'm going to use is actually going to be 7 millimeters. And I think that will give me enough room to be able to adjust the leg as I needed and still be able to have a secure fit onto the bolts. Now I went ahead and set the fence in position, and I also put this stop block in position. And that way when I slide this in, this will be able to drill right down exactly center onto that point. Then I'll be able to turn this around, slide it back in position, and that still has the perfect alignment. And again, everything that I do is checked and double checked before I do any of the drilling or cutting. To me, that is just good workmanship, and it is something that all woodworkers need to be able to practice. Now I'm ready to do the actual drilling, and this makes it where it's very easy to do, and you can be assured that it's not going to be wrong. Now I wanted to be able to test fit this. This is exactly flush on the bottom. The holes do come through nicely. I'm going to go ahead and sand this and clean this up a little bit, and we'll be ready to start reassembling. Next I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes and prepare that. And I wanted to test fit the other one, and you can see that is perfect. Again, flush with the bottom. That goes in just right. It meets and seats down here at the edge of the post. I think that is going to work great. I really can't use a pocket hole jig for this, but I can use the bit. And what I need to be able to do is drill this where it's right down. Now I lost some video unexpectedly and didn't realize it till it was too late. And unfortunately, I don't have any way of being able to duplicate it. But since I've moved on to the staining, you can see where I was able to use the step drill bit and drill those holes perfectly through there. Of course, I used a drill press and again set up the stop blocks so that every hole was exactly the same. And then with this staining, this is just a mahogany gel stain. Now while this stain is drying, I want to find some screws that will work to be able to put the seat back on. Now this seat, all this is just 1/2 inch plywood, and that's what it's screwed into. In preparation to reassemble this chair, I still need to get these old bent broken screws out. Using the vice grips is really the best tool for it. I can grab a hold to the end of the screw that is exposed and then just unthread it. Now you can see just how bad this screw is. It is completely bent and it's not useful at all. So this is headed to the trash can. I'm really kind of surprised at just how much these screws bent. I did need to use a chisel just to be able to clean this surface up so it was smooth, because it was pretty rough with the tear out from when this chair failed. Reassembly is actually very straightforward. The first thing is I went around and retightened all of the screws that were in the chair already. And this is always a good practice to be able to do, because I was actually surprised at how loose some of these screws were, especially on the arm of the chair itself. It was extremely loose. Now that I've got everything tightened, it's just a matter of being able to go now and put this front back onto the chair and put the cushion on it with the screws that will just go through those brackets. Now I'm taking the corner brackets and actually loosely putting those into position and screwing them in to the table leg. Now this has a flat washer and a lock washer, and then of course the nut goes on to this. Now I'm not tightening it real tight now, because I'll tighten it once it's back onto the chair itself. To be able to attach these corner braces back into the chair itself, I'm using the pocket hole screws. This is a much larger screw than what was in there originally, and it should hold extremely well. I'm real happy with how this chair turned out. I think it's going to be very strong and durable, and I hope the owners of this chair will have many years of enjoyment out of this chair. I think it is a really beautiful chair, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Hi everyone, Thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.